Hi, we're here with Carl Tannenbaum, Chief Economist of Northern Trust. Carl, great to see you.
Good to be with you.
Some of the recent trade battles have centered on agriculture. What impact has this had?
Well, it's had a substantial impact on the agricultural sector itself. China, in retaliation for tariffs that we placed on steel and some other products, introduced its own measures against U.S. soybeans in particular, and quite predictably, almost immediately the price of U.S.-produced soybeans went down. Now, China's going to have a hard time replacing the soybean supply it gets from the United States with other countries, but their main intent was to introduce a little bit of pain in a part of our country which has been very supportive of the administration and its policies in the hope of perhaps undermining support for the hard line they're getting from Washington.
Do you see agriculture as a major part of the economy?
Statistically, it is not. In developing countries, let's say like India, agriculture accounts for about 15% of the overall economic output and about 40% of employment. But here in the United States, where farming has been industrialized for many decades, the output from farming accounts for less than 2% of our GDP and less than 2% of our employment. So viewed strictly from that lens, the impairment to agriculture that's coming from the tariffs should be relatively minor.
If agriculture is a relatively small industry, why do governments focus on it so much?
I think there are three main reasons. First, every country, justifiably so, is concerned about food security. If something were to happen, an armed conflict or trade frictions, they want to make sure that everybody gets fed. Secondly, the base of support represented by farms and farmers is one that's very powerful, not just in the United States, but in a lot of countries. And in order to sustain political favor, I think administrations around the world try and curry favor with farmers. And finally, it's impossible to overstate the hold that agriculture has on our psyches. I mean, many of us still think that farm values are very core to who we are as a people, and so that way of life is something that needs preservation.
Who's ultimately going to foot the bill for these agricultural tariffs?
Doug, it's going to be you and me and everybody that buys farm products. Prices for those products are likely to rise, as they will for other products affected by trade. In addition, there's already talk in Washington of providing additional support to the farm sector through taxpayer support. Farm income this year is probably going to be provided about half by taxpayer subsidies, which also comes out of the pockets of consumers. So very often in these situations, while you have a policy that's well intended for that sector, it does introduce overall costs that could be quite substantial.
Carl, thanks for your perspective as always.
My pleasure.